Hi, and welcome everybody to the Revolutionizing Compliance session today. My name is Connie Hoen, and I am the Director of the Global Audit Services. I have been in the compliance industry for over 30 plus years, and ask my kids, they say she doesn't only leave it at work, she brings it home. The whole compliance cause and effect thing. So it's fun. I absolutely love the compliance processing that we deal with. I am excited to be here today with Laura.
Thank you, Connie. And I have learned so much from Connie over the past 11 years that I have been at SAP Concur. I'm a senior solution advisor for the enterprise business, and I have been with SAP Concur for a little over 11 years. We both hail from the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and we're excited to talk compliance and AI with you today.
All right, let's talk through what our agenda is going to be. The objectives for today will be compliance, covering the basics. Then we're going to talk through a little bit about compliance and innovation, how it's a perfect match. And then we're going to wrap things up with solving compliance through innovation. So covering the basics. So defining, there's many pieces to this process of compliance and really defining the two differences between regulatory compliance and policy compliance. They're similar, but they do run separate paths. Regulatory compliance is where you must comply with a financial regulation related to either travel and expenses, per diems, reporting requirements. Sometimes it's tied to a specific industry. Again, there's for-profit, for nonprofit, IRS regulations, you guys are getting it. If you have different locations, there's actually different regulatories applied to different locations in the world. What is the proper documentation that's needed to ensure you're being compliant in that location? What happens if you are not compliant in the regulatory compliance requirements? Those are all things that you're thinking about as you're building your travel and expense policy for your organization. As for the policy compliance, developing clear travel and expense policies for your employees that cover everything from they need to either get approval for the trip, they need to book the trip, they need to take the trip, and then they need to expense that trip. Making sure that those items that they're putting on that expense report are valid within your travel and expense policy. And as I've said earlier, I've been around for long enough that I've seen employees really kind of push that envelope, which is some of the fun we're going to get to later on. But again, it is making sure that your travelers know what they should be following as they're going through that process. What can they spend as it relates to the company money? What receipts are required? How many alcoholic beverages can I have when I'm out on a work trip? Do I have any questions regarding my policy? Do I have a process that I can get answers to? Compliance just doesn't apply to that end user. Also, your managers need to understand there needs to be a process for your employees to go to if they have questions. Can I do this? So when you're building your travel and expense policy, it's important that you include not only the accounts payable team, the tax departments, the payroll teams, the compliance teams, and again, those are just a few that are involved. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, also known as ACFE, they've identified that organizations lose 5% of revenue to fraud each year. So I know right now all of you are thinking, what's 5% of our organization's revenue? And then you go, wow, that's a lot of money. It is. So it's important that you have a process in place regarding compliance. In their report to the nations 2024, they reviewed almost 2,000 cases from over 138 countries and territories. And their findings resulted in a total losses of more than $3 billion. Again, huge. And these are actual completed cases. 34% of the fraud cases in their study were not referred to law enforcement. And the reason for that is those organizations decided not to have further investigation and prosecution done because they had a little bit of fear of bad publicity. I totally get that, but just think about what isn't reported. So which of these would concern you the most? Here are just a few examples of recent receipts attached to expense reports and identified by their auditors. The first is a laundry expense. When your travelers are out and they may have spilled something and they need that outfit, whatever the situation is, they need to do some laundry. Again, one, is it in your travel and expense policy? And two, would you accept this as a valid receipt if the expense was lower than your receipt requirement? Again, it happens. I totally get it. Life happens, I guess, is what we refer to it. The next is where the receipt was for an employee meal. How many of you are actually looking at every receipt? This is something that on a monthly basis, our audit team gets together and we review the fund findings that they identified. This is actually a true receipt that we came across, and this was for a meal expense. It's interesting that the employee, and again, not saying it was done on purpose, but they're busy and they're attaching things, but I think this one was done on purpose. It was an employee meal. This last one is one of my favorite. It's a classic. It's a wedding dress. The auditor came across this wedding dress and went, this client isn't in fashion or design, but it's a wedding dress. And so we passed it. Everything was fine with the report, but we did go back to the employee admin and say, just giving you a heads up, we came across this. They reached out to that traveler and said, help me understand, why are you submitting an expense for a wedding dress? And he explained he became friends with client A and client B, and then he invited them to his daughter's wedding. Well, that admin then went back across his past expense reports, and he did expense his entire daughter's wedding over those expenses. It just validates the need to review 100% of your receipts that are attached, as the non-compliant spend can be either very little or it can be very expensive to your organization. Laura, do you want to talk now about how AI can help compliance?
I do, because that's going to help with being able to look at 100% of your receipts. So going forward, we're going to talk about the perfect match when we bring AI into the mix when it comes to compliance. And AI has definitely been a game changer for our spend management space. It can analyze huge amounts of data. You have receipts, you have invoices, you have reports. AI can cut through all of that within seconds. It's going to help find patterns, insights that us humans are going to probably miss. Second, it's going to spot anomalies, flagging suspicious or unusual spending that, and catching them right before they turn into fraud or a compliance headache that you're going to have. Third, it's going to automate tedious tasks, things that you do every day, categorizing your expenses, processing invoices, cutting down on errors and freeing your team for higher value work at play. And finally, AI, it always is learning. It's continuously learning. So when your policies or when regulations change, it's going to adapt automatically so you can stay compliant without having to scramble and to keep up. And when we bring AI into the mix with compliance, it's going to take it to a whole new level. We're going to be catching things that humans cannot catch. It's going to make sure receipts are legit. It's going to automatically check for dates, amounts, make sure it's tax compliant, keeps that spending in line with policy by flagging unallowable expenses or maybe the wrong class of service, in some cases before they even spend that money. It's also going to help to cut down on errors by spotting duplicates and comparing expenses against benchmark data that we have. And then it goes even further to identify there's patterns and trends that we have with repeat offenders or any suspicious activity. So AI is going to help your team stay ahead of fraud and compliance risks. So now let's dive a little deeper into our compliance solutions so we can understand how this works. So if we look at this report and just by glancing at it, we can't tell if there's anything wrong with it, right? You have to open it up, look line by line, do your research, and you're only going to find that there was nothing wrong with this report. So how much time did you spend on that report? Now multiply that by 1,000 or maybe even 10,000. And that's a lot of time that you're going to spend looking at perfectly fine expense reports that are compliant. But if you're going to leverage AI and machine learning to scan 100% of your expense reports, it's going to automatically do those checks for receipt, for accuracy, for validity. It's going to ensure that everything is in policy. It's going to help to suss out any patterns or suspicious activities, and it's going to do that quickly. So that means your compliance team can focus on resolving issues instead of wasting time looking for those issues. So catching these errors out of policy spend after it happens is really important. And historically, most of our AI has been applied to the end of our spend life cycle. But what we want to do is start looking at how we can leverage AI before those review and audit stages even happen. How can we improve the traveler experience to not only make things easier, but also increase compliance? So now we are focusing on looking at things like today what we use already, which is our intelligent receipt capture that's going to automatically create expenses for us, and even taking it a step further to have hotel bills automatically itemized for you. And so I know you all are familiar with Expenseit. It's probably one of our oldest solutions. It's one of my favorite. And why? Because receipts are the bane of my existence, as I'm sure they are for you. Why I like to bring Expenseit up is it really helps to kick off the compliance conversation by striking that perfect balance between policy control and then you have employee experience. And out of all of Concur's solutions, it makes compliance easy without adding that extra work for your employees, right? So when I travel for work, I'm with my team, I take a picture of my receipt after a meal, and then the OCR and the machine learning is gonna do its magic, extract that data, create the expense line item, and add it to my report for me. And it can do it all while I'm traveling, so I don't have to come home to a big mess of a report. And we're gonna take it even one step further. We've been enhancing our product with generative AI so we can improve the accuracy of our hotel itemizations. So itemizing a hotel folio is really painful and no one has time for that. So we're gonna let AI do that. And once you send that hotel folio through Expenseit, it's gonna automatically auto-itemize it for you. You can also drag and drop on the desktop, or you can email your receipts to receipts@expenseit.com. And since releasing in March of 2024, customers have seen a 75% reduction in time to input hotel receipts. So that's been creating a lot more efficiency and productivity for your end users. And just as we discussed, we've already been using AI to make the expense audit process more efficient by uncovering patterns and trends that are going to indicate bad behavior. And we're going to help companies stay compliant with global tax regulations while putting money back in their pocket and maximizing their tax compliance. But now we want to start to look at how we can utilize AI before anything is purchased by providing users with pre-trip estimates generated using generative AI and in the Concur request tool. So when I go on a trip, my boss is always going to ask me, how much is this going to cost? So that's when I go on my journey of the World Wide Web and I have to spend time doing all this research that no one wants to do, and you got to find the right prices, and that takes time. So with Request Assistant, it's going to estimate the trip cost within seconds. You just have to enter your travel location, your dates, the items that you want to include, flight, airfare, hotel, meals, whatever you need to in there. Request Assistant will create that estimate within seconds, and it's going to help save time and research for that information, and it can really enhance the accuracy of your cost estimates. And even though there are all of these amazing AI capabilities that we have given you today, as of today, this is not where we're going to stop. We are continuing to leverage these technologies to build out more capabilities. We want to create a traveler experience that's even more intuitive, automated, and more intelligent, and that's going to help drive a more compliant behavior and experience. And so what we're going to roll out is pre-trip notifications that are going to be based on your company policy tips, such as expense limits per meal, receipt requirements, intelligent notifications that are going to alert users, if they're missing receipts, if they have an expense report that's ready for submission, and other helpful reminders. There's an intuitive, updated timeline in your mobile app today that you can access. That's going to give you a timeline view of your whole trip, so you can see maybe if you're missing a meal on Wednesday or Thursday, and it's really nice to have that view to be able to add in those extra expenses. And also, we're partnering with MasterCard and American Express to bring in instant card transactions. That's going to be real-time notifications as they come in. So an employee can be reminded as they're swiping their card to attach a receipt or to add attendees, or maybe something's out of policy, like they're over their meal limit. So American Express is going to be available to you 2026 Q1, and MasterCard is available to the general population today. And if you have any questions, you can just ask Jewel, our very own co-pilot. And we have use cases for Jewel that are coming out in the free version, available Q4 this year. So by leveraging this generative AI, infusing the AI earlier in the spending process, we can really personalize results even further, as well as improve that compliance aspect and help to streamline those back office processes. So Connie is going to take us next and show us how these SAP Concur solutions are solving the compliance equation with AI. Take it away, Connie.
Perfect. Okay, so how it works. And again, just looking at the artificial intelligence review, we have the receipt checks and the policy checks. Auditors, regardless if it's our audit team or your audit team, take the expense report and we review the information along with custom compliance checks. Technology looks at the work first and says, can I validate everything here, or do I need that auditor, that validator? And anything that the technology says, I'm good, it will move it on to the next workflow step. I'm going to first talk through intelligent audit. Some of you may have heard that as referenced as the full course meal. We have onboarding experts, ongoing support teams for both the admin and the end users. We have the auditors. We have quality teams. We have access to our data scientist teams, which I think is amazing. And then we have a suite of reports. 100% of all the reports and receipts are reviewed by the AI/ML technology, and then humans come into play as needed for custom compliance checks. We've got the 48-hour monthly average processing time, or if you want it faster, you're able to buy up for a true 24 or 48-hour SLA. SAP Concur can interact directly with the submitting employees and or your custom audit teams. We have the consulting and reporting teams to monitor the trends and the details. At the end of the day, it frees up time for your teams. Are your teams now able to go in and do more of like a forensic process? Here's an example of how the intelligent audit works. And there's a couple different answers to be able to how we process. So as I said earlier, the employee submits, it goes through technology. If everything is good, it goes to the next workflow step. If there's an exception identified, it goes to the Concur team to be able to validate it. And then we're able to that point say it goes back to the employee, or we may want to send it to the Concur or to your internal team if it's something you said you'd like to look at. Or we can pass it because now everything is good. Or there's an approved with exception option, which actually moves it on to the next workflow step as well. Here's a quick view as to where our global audit teams are located. So with the power of AI, what do you see? The technology is identifying, does the date match? As you can tell, this one has an altered receipt amount, which again happens. We totally get that it happens, but without a comment, we don't know. And this one just looks like an altered receipt. This one is one that I absolutely love. Can you see the problem? Payment declined and payment aborted. Those are key things. The employee submitted the receipt thinking that they could get reimbursed for a transaction that actually never happened. Now let's focus a little bit on how the AI/ML technology works with Verify. That is where the technology processes the expense reports and identifies exceptions that are now routed to your team. Again, you may have heard Verify referenced as the light lunch. It's a native solution with SAP Concur Expense. It's the quickest and easiest way to ensure compliance using the AI/ML technology and your audit team. It provides a consistent review of expense reports and allows your auditors to focus their attention on the exceptions rather than having them have to look for everything. Again, it's simple to configure. It's a self-service process, but we're always here to help. Very simple. It's submit. We do the verify step, managers, processors, and then it moves on. Verify and intelligent audit, we recommend having it after the employee submits, but we can also move it after the manager approves it. It identifies AI-generated receipts. Again, this is something, the fake receipts isn't new. That's been out there for years, but this is where we now have the technology creating receipts that look great. It's fun to catch those when we do. The alcohol, again, you define what you want to set up, and the technology will look through the receipts. They'll find the alcohol, and then it'll be moved over to your audit team to be able to decide what you're going to do, if it's meeting your requirements or not. Similar to Verify, Detect is also a light lunch option for your compliance program. It provides the AI technology, and then your auditors are provided with details to confirm the non-compliant spend. The difference here is that you would log into a different platform within Oversight to be able to resolve the exceptions that were identified. And the intelligent trend and pattern analysis helps you identify the previously hidden violations. And then again, it's a post-pay audit process. Again, identifying the risky behavioral trends that will be tracked post-payment. It's your audit team. There's dashboards. And both the audit and reporting is completed by Oversight. Here is the process of post-pay workflow. It's submitted, an exception is identified. Your team then makes the final decision with the process. That being said, please take a moment after this session to share your thoughts with us. We're looking for your feedback. Was this helpful? We're looking for all the sessions you've attended. And now I'm going to move to the next slide, which is how do I stay connected with my peers? This is where I highly recommend not to forget to connect with your peers online. Click on Chat with Attendees, opt in under your profile settings, and then start a conversation. And now it's a thank you. So thank you for joining us. As I said earlier, it was a pleasure to be here with you, and I hope this was educational yet entertaining.
Absolutely. Thank you, Connie.